Welcome back, friends. Today, we are going to dive into the topic of fame, the drive to be famous, the different ways that we might strive for fame in one way or another, whatever our version of fame is, how it might show up for our clients. And most importantly, we're going to be talking about how to manage and leverage the impulse to fame. We're taking a look at this topic because there are times when our clients desire fame, and following that desire might be very helpful and aligned for them. But there are going to be other times when following the desire to fame isn't helpful or aligned at all. And in fact, it can be misguided. So, the more that we can help our clients and ourselves get clear on when the impulse to want to be famous is aligned or misaligned, and the more that we can understand the nature of the drive to fame, plus the nature of fame itself, then the more that we can support our clients to be empowered on the path that is right for them. Now, this topic of fame is something that I've been thinking about and sharing about for over 10 years now. And that's because I've coached so many people over the decades who have chased fame in a sort of way. Also, this topic is one that's very personal to me. There are moments when I think I want a certain type of fame. Not to be famous like a huge movie star or a politician, but fame within the coaching industry. For example, there are moments that I want to be very, very well known, or to have 1 million followers on social media, or to have one of my offerings go viral, or to bring 1,000 people into a program that I offer. And when that desire comes up for me, it's complex. There's a push and a pull to it. There are layers to it. There are moments that the desire to be famous makes me happy. There are moments when it's motivated me to do big things that I'm so grateful that I've achieved. There are moments when that desire to be famous has inspired me to make even bigger impact on the world. And I'm so glad that I've been able to serve in those ways. But that being said, there are moments where my desire for fame has been misguided, when it hasn't been in my best interest or in the best interest of my business, and probably not in the best interest of the world. There are moments where I've felt shame that I've even had the desire to be famous, that desire is something that would drive me. There are moments where I've felt upset at myself for yearning this. And there are moments where I've been envious of others who have achieved that kind of fame that I'm looking for. There are also other moments where I can see through the illusion of fame, where I can see that I've somehow been tricked, or I've tricked myself into thinking that I'll be happier or more satisfied or feel more worthy if I achieve that certain kind of fame. There are also moments where being famous is the absolute last thing in the world that I want for myself. And so I want to break some of this down today with you because I'm hoping that it'll be valuable for you personally in case you ever experience any of the things that I just mentioned. And I'm also hoping that it will give you much more insight into some of the human behavior around this desire to be famous that might come up for your clients or future clients. So, as I said, this topic of fame and the desire and the push and pull of it is something that I've been thinking about for a long time right now, for a long time. And the first time that I wrote an article about the pull to be famous was in 2013. And it was inspired by a concert that I went to see. John and I went to see one of my favorite musical artists, Aimee Mann, play a show here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We'd also seen her a few years prior when we still lived in Brooklyn. And if you aren't familiar with Aimee Mann, I highly recommend checking out her music. She's been around for over 30 years now. And I find Aimee's music to be deep and soulful and really full of rich content and melodies and ideas. She's had a few bigger hits over the years. I think she's probably most famous or most known for doing the soundtrack to the movie Magnolia. It's an excellent soundtrack. But for the most part, while Aimee Mann's work has received a good amount of critical acclaim, and she has a consistent following of loyal fans, I don't believe that she's ever made it to the top 10 on the charts. So I had seen Aimee play live before, but at that show in 2013, for whatever reason, as I sat in the audience, I started comparing that show to what I imagined a Lady Gaga show would be like. Now, remember, this was 2013. Lady Gaga was big back then. And I am kind of so out of pop culture that I don't even know who might be in comparison with that today. Maybe Beyonce. Anyway, Aimee wasn't playing in an arena with thousands of seats. Instead, the theater she was playing in, which was a converted church, held about 500 sold out seats. There weren't any flashy light shows like in a big arena concert or big screens with video, but instead there were gorgeous stained glass windows of the church that were lit up in the theater. Aimee didn't have any backup singers or dancers. She didn't change outfits 10 times throughout the show the way some really famous musician might. She wore jeans and a t-shirt. Her hair wasn't done perfectly. She spoke directly to the audience and she told really wonderful, pertinent stories about her life in intimate ways. She joked around with the audience as if she were speaking to a bunch of friends. And you kind of just felt like you were hanging out with Aimee Mann. She put on no pretenses, and she even came out on stage to play a few songs with her opening act before her own set, not worrying about conventional concert rules that silently say that the main act is above the opening act. There was a kind of level playing field all around with the opening act and with the people who had gathered to see her and to be with her. Because of my own push and pull relationship with fame and the desire to be famous, as I was sitting in the church and observing all of this, I was wondering if Aimee wished she was playing in a massive arena, if she had any sadness or frustration for not being able to fill a theater that big. Of course, she was already a certain level of famous, but I couldn't help but wonder, did she wish she had that huge type of fame that Lady Gaga had? Did she have some of the yearning that I had to be one of the biggest names in the coaching industry, but in her own field? As I was wondering this, I looked again around the theater and I noticed that the fans were in a trance with the beauty and the power of the show. It was so clear that everyone at that concert was there because they absolutely loved Aimee Mann. These were loyal, devoted fans who knew each one of her songs, not just the famous ones. These fans knew all the words to all the songs. Nobody was there to see a spectacle or to see a light show or a big video or any outfit changes. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that everyone that goes to a Lady Gaga or Beyonce concert are there to see the light show, or that there is anything at all wrong with going to an arena show or being a hugely famous arena artist. Nothing wrong with it at all. I've been to my fair share of arena shows, and a number of them have been transcendent experiences, especially when I love the artist. I have had spiritual experiences in big, big arena shows, seeing Billy Joel, Stevie Wonder, Tori Amos, just to name a few. Right. So now you also know a little bit more about my music taste. So, arena concerts and massive fame can be wonderful, of course. But my point is that there's also something to be said for not being in the big arena and not being famous. I realized that night in 2013 that Aimee Mann's music actually wouldn't make as much sense in a huge arena. Her music would get lost in that space. In the more intimate setting of the church theater, it was much more powerful. And I could be wrong, but as I was observing Aimee, it didn't seem that she needed to be in front of more people or to have thousands upon thousands of audience members present. To me, it looked like she was delivering so much value that evening and that she was loving exactly the way that she was doing it. Now, I can't speak for her, but what I can say is for me, I am positive that I wouldn't have enjoyed that evening as much as I did. I wouldn't have gotten as much out of it if it would have been in a huge arena with thousands and thousands of people. And this realization at the time brought me to an even deeper one, that my work is deep and powerful, and it's also mostly intimate. Most of it fits better in a quote unquote theater, even a small auditorium, than it would in a stadium. I am generally not for the masses. And for most of my programming, if I'm being really honest with myself, I'm not interested in droves of strangers unfamiliar with me and my work being in the room. I prefer a loyal following of engaged people who really want to do the work and really resonate with my message. I am mostly interested in long-term relationships with my clients and my students instead of temporary fans. And I'm committed to being myself and showing up authentically without any of the pretenses that fame often brings. And so back in 2013, when I realized all of this, it was really a revelation for me. I could see so clearly how so much of my need and longing to be famous was really about what the coaching industry was telling me I should do and I should want versus what I really desired. I could see how, even though I knew better and I was teaching others better, I still was sometimes falling into the trap of thinking that the only way to be in business and the only way to be worthy and valuable was to have that fame and to have a huge business. I could also see how sometimes I was being motivated by likes and followers, and how I imagined that more likes and more followers might make me feel more validated and better about myself. And I could see how that was wrong, right? That was just trying to fill what I like to call the well of validation that can never be filled. And I know that I actually do so much better when I am motivated instead of by likes and followers, by wanting to make an impact and to be in my purpose and to be in my creative expression. And, side note, I'm not saying that wanting validation from others is a bad thing. I actually think that all human beings need some outside validation, but it's about when it becomes an obsession, right? Or an illusion that you will feel more worthy. If that's what you get, then that's when it's a problem. So anyway, on that night at the concert, as I was realizing all of this, I made the decision that to want to be a Lady Gaga of coaching wasn't for me. And that instead, I was really more of an Aimee Mann of the coaching industry. And it's not, when I say that, it's not that I thought I could consistently fill theaters of 500 like Aimee Mann does. My coaching version of Aimee Mann fame was basically to fill my programs with a couple dozen people and to be well beloved by the clients and students that know me. Having clients that come back over and over to buy each of my quote unquote albums, right? Or my programs, and tell their friends all about it. And that's essentially the business that I had in 2013 and that I've continued to have. It has grown for sure, but I would say, my business is an Aimee Mann business. Okay, so that maybe sounds like a happy ending and as if we can wrap here, except as always, I've got layers and depth. And there was a whole other layer to all of this that I want to share with you because it's important. And I think it will resonate with you and help you understand yourself and your clients even more. While it is very true that much of my work is meant for more intimate groups and mostly not for thousands in a workshop at a time, what is also true is that when I made that decision in 2013 to not be famous, it was also a kind of easy way out for me. Here's what I mean by that. That decision to not be famous or a Lady Gaga of coaching or a Tony Robbins of coaching, it helped distract me from some of the true and authentic longing inside of me to be much, much more visible. I had that desire inside of me. That decision to not be famous kind of gave me an easy excuse to not pay attention to the parts of me that actually did want a little bit of fame. Because it kind of felt impossible to achieve that. So why even bother? For those of you who know about shadow or have been on a shadow training retreat with me, you'll understand when I say that I put the part of me that wanted fame into shadow with that 2013 decision. I decided that fame just wasn't right for me. I made it a kind of bad and wrong and shameful thing in a way. I made it a dirty thing for me to even want that fame. I made it to be not righteous enough or not authentic enough. And what became apparent in the years after is that I did all of that so that I wouldn't have to feel the discomfort of longing for fame and not having it. And it's really funny now because a friend of mine who is also a coach and who is very intuitive and very perceptive, at the time, she really called me out on this decision. She tried to tell me that maybe I wasn't completely acknowledging all of my true desires. But at the time, I just didn't want to feel that longing, disappointed feeling about it anymore, that I didn't listen to her at all. I thought that she was completely wrong about me. And again, in part, as I was sharing earlier, in part, she was wrong about me, right? For all of those reasons I mentioned earlier. But that being said, this friend wasn't entirely wrong. There is a part inside of me that delights in the idea of having some fame. So over the last few years, I've started to really look at this part of me more, the one that does want fame, the purest part of it, not the part that wants more likes and more followers, but the part that wants to make massive, massive impact in the world and to be seen for making massive impact in the world. And I've been working to not make those parts of myself bad or wrong or shameful, but instead to really own and accept those parts of me. And through this process, I've been able to work with my desire for fame in ways that really make sense for me, in ways that allow me to still be my Aimee Mann self, but with little pieces of Lady Gaga sprinkled in. And this podcast is an example of that, right? A podcast is a way to share my work where many, many people can benefit all at once. It doesn't need the intimacy of my trainings. I am excited and I really want for loads of people to listen to this podcast and to benefit from it. And that being said, because I know who I am and because I'm clear on my priorities, the bulk of my time and energy will still go to the smaller and more intimate offerings. Or at least I say that now, right? Who knows? It could change. So, my friend, one of the many things I hope that you receive from this episode is that there are so many ways to do any career, including coaching, and that the most famous or the most visible or the most popular is not always the best or the most aligned way. Bigger isn't always better or what's most satisfying, even though a lot of the coaching industry will tell you that that is the only way. But I want you to know that smaller can very often be more powerful and more satisfying. And there really is something to be said for clients who feel that they have personal and intimate relationships with you versus you being the teacher on the stage. My clients and my students, even if I have 100 people in a program, which I often do, my students will still say to me, oh my gosh, I can't believe how high touch this is. I can't believe that I've gotten personal attention. I feel like we really know each other. And it's true, right? And I wouldn't be able to do that if there were 1,000 people in the program. So ultimately, what I'm saying is that it's so valuable for you to get clear on who you are and who you want to be, and then live by that and create your goals and your business goals and your career goals based on that. If you reach into your heart and find that you truly are a Lady Gaga or a Beyonce, then yay, strive for that and go for that. But if you reach into your heart and find that you're an Aimee Mann or a street performer or anything else, embrace that. Love that. Go for that. Take joy and pleasure in knowing that you know who you are, that you have a unique way about you, and then set goals that reflect that. Don't just blindly yearn or strive for the biggest or grandest business ever just because you've been told that that's what's best. Try not to chase fame for validation reason only or because someone told you. But also don't put your desire for fame into shadow. Find the healthiest expression of all of it for you and help your clients do the same. When a client tells you, I want to be famous, or I want to be a billionaire, or I want 1 million followers, or any other version of that, before you rush to strategize on that plan, work with your client to make sure that it's the right goal and the right plan. Help your clients answer some of the deeper questions like, what is it that I actually want? What is the best container for the type of work that I love to do? How will pursuing this kind of fame that I want enhance or detract from my life? What will actually be most satisfying for me? Am I chasing likes and followers for the sake of chasing likes and followers? Or is there a bigger purpose to this? And then, similar to the second part of my own story, help your clients see where they're maybe not allowing themselves to dream as big as they actually desire to dream. And help them get super clear on where they want to be on that spectrum of fame and to move forward from there. Okay, my friends, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and my personal story. If you did, please go and give us a review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It is really helpful for the podcast when you do this. And of course, as I see your reviews, I will take them straight into my heart with deep appreciation. Okay, this is for editing purposes. This is episode 6. I am so glad that you are here with me today for this very important episode that I hope is going to help you help your clients in much more effective ways. And also, I have a feeling that this episode is going to help you coach yourself in even more effective ways. And that's because today's episode is all about the real process of transformation and progress that human beings undergo. And as coaches and practitioners, we need to understand how change and progress actually happens for human beings if we're going to truly be able to help them with their goals and their aspirations and in feeling more satisfied and connected in their lives. So let me ask you this. Has this ever happened to you or a client? Have you ever had an amazing coaching session and left that session with huge inspiration to change something, a habit maybe, or to take action on a goal, only to either take just one tiny baby step and abandon the goal or the new habit forever? Or maybe you never even get to that tiny baby step. For example, maybe after years of being worried that you're not a good enough writer, you finally write the first page or two of your novel, only to never write another word of it again. And by the way, this happened to me many years ago. I started writing my memoir. I wrote the first draft of a chapter, and then it just gathered dust. Maybe you've observed this kind of phenomena in your client work. For example, maybe in a client session, you did some incredible inner work related to your client's fear of intimacy. And then that client left the coaching session with you feeling super excited and determined to put their dating profile up online. But then somehow your client never actually does anything. When things like this happen, it can feel really frustrating for our clients and also for us. And sometimes it seems to not make any sense. We did good work with our client in the coaching session. We helped them work on a fear or shift their negative thinking on a topic. Maybe we helped our client vision out an aligned strategy. They were so happy and so hopeful and seemed so motivated by the end of the session. So what happened? Why didn't they change? And why didn't they move forward on their goals? Well, to understand why and to know what to do differently, we want to get a grasp on the three related concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you today. This first concept is at the heart of the process of change, and it's a concept that my Sacred Depth students have heard me say at least a dozen times, and probably more throughout our 10 months together. Here's the concept. There is a difference between a breakthrough and a transformation. I'm going to say that again. It's a writer downer if you happen to be near a pen and paper. There is a difference between a breakthrough and a transformation. Now, the coaching, wellness, and healing industries tend to use the terms breakthrough and transformation interchangeably, as if they're the same thing, but they are not. And most practitioners don't actually know or understand the difference between a breakthrough and a transformation and how to co-create both with clients. And this is something that you really want to know in order to be an effective practitioner who is able to help clients change and achieve goals. Okay, so what is the difference between a breakthrough and a transformation? Let's talk about breakthroughs first. They're often called aha moments or light bulb moments. And a breakthrough is when your client understands, becomes aware of, sees, senses, or feels a new piece of information. This new piece of information can be a new inspired idea, a new feeling in their body, a connecting of the dots around a pattern that they hadn't seen before, a new way of being, etc., etc. Breakthroughs are awesome, obviously. We need breakthroughs in order to move forward towards our goals and towards our evolution. Breakthroughs bring solutions to problems, and they can bring lots of inspiration. Plus, breakthroughs are so darn sexy, right? It's the best feeling in the world to have a breakthrough or to hold space for a client to have a breakthrough, to understand or see or feel something new that is important to them. But all that being said, at the end of the day, breakthroughs are actually useless if they aren't moved forward towards transformation. And yes, you heard me right. I did say that breakthroughs are useless if they're not moved forward towards transformation. And that's because a new idea, feeling, or awareness, a breakthrough, is usually not enough to yield ongoing action or inner change. Practitioners and clients can sometimes become addicted to the sexiness of breakthroughs, but then they never move on to the deeper, more challenging, not as sexy work of transformation. And take a moment and think about if this has happened for you personally or for one of your clients. A new, big, exciting, and valuable awareness comes forward in a session or a workshop, or even from reading a book, but it goes nowhere. You were so excited about this breakthrough, this new awareness at the time, and you thought you were gonna, change your life with it. But instead, that breakthrough just gathers dust. Nothing is actually done with it. This is exactly why breakthroughs are wonderful, but ultimately not enough. We need to pair breakthroughs with the work of transformation. Now, a transformation is related to a breakthrough, but it's different. Transformation is real and long-lasting change on the inner level, on the outer level. It can be in our habits, in our thinking, in how we feel, in how we perceive, in how we respond to a particular fear, in our actions, etc. Transformation, or real and long-lasting change, which is what transformation is, usually requires a deeper shift in your client's neural and somatic pathways, a deeper shift than what a single breakthrough can yield. In other words, breakthroughs are a first step on the pathway to change and transformation. They begin to change those neural and somatic pathways. But the breakthrough itself is only the first part of the story. The real transformation comes when the new information that comes through breakthroughs is applied and reinforced persistently and consistently until the real change on the cognitive, emotional, spiritual, and somatic levels occur. And when this happens over time and dedication, because it does take time and dedication to reinforce breakthroughs persistently and consistently, when this does happen, wowie, it is pretty magical. And then it becomes even sexier than the original breakthrough. This is when your clients can achieve more easily their goals. This is when your clients can become more consistent in their actions. And this is when clients move from cognitively understanding something new about themselves, like that they're good enough, or that they're worthy, or that they deserve love, or that they can achieve a goal. This is when they move from the cognitive understanding of it to more deeply embody the breakthrough. And when a human being can deeply embody the breakthrough over and over and over again, that is true change and transformation. That leads to easier achievement of goals. Breakthroughs, as I said, are great, and they are very important. But co-creating real transformation with clients is when you get to really feel that special satisfaction in knowing that your clients are making the best use of your work together. That's when you're in your highest purpose. And I'll just toss this out there for you to consider because of everything that I'm sharing right now. What I want you to consider is yield fewer breakthroughs in your client work, but go deeper and stay longer with each breakthrough. It's not a contest. It doesn't make you the best coach or practitioner if you're the one that yields the most breakthroughs. What makes you a better practitioner is when you take the breakthroughs that are yielded and you stick with them with your clients. You help your clients embody those breakthroughs over time so that transformation can happen. Okay, so then what's the first step in all of this? What's the first step to activating breakthroughs and transformations? Well, of course, it definitely takes mastery of coaching and transformation skills and techniques like the ones that we learn in the Sacred Depths Transformational Practitioner Training. You need those skills and techniques in order to co-create breakthroughs and transformations with clients. But the first step in all of this is, number one, to know the difference between breakthrough and transformation, which we've covered today, and then to decide that you are the type of practitioner who isn't willing to settle for breakthroughs only. This is a decision. It requires patience and an honoring of the real process of change to decide that you're the type of practitioner who is committed to co-creating real and long-lasting change with your clients, to decide that you're the type of practitioner who has the gravitas to hold space for the deeper change, to decide that you're the type of practitioner who isn't only interested in the sexy, but also interested in the process of how human beings truly evolve and step into their highest expression. Too many of us, our clients included, have been taught to believe that change happens overnight, that there's some kind of magic pill that can activate motivation and inspiration and clarity, all of it. I am here to tell you, my friend, that there are no magic pills. And so this is the second concept that I want you to consider today. That true change and progress, the type of change and progress that lasts, the type that is embodied, it takes some time. You have to work for it. You have to earn it. It needs to be practiced. There are no magic pills. There is not another way. I often tell my prospects, if you're looking for the coach that's going to launch you to the moon and back in a day or less, I am not the coach for you, right? I am clear and upfront about the process of achievement and change with my prospects. Part of this is because I believe that it is actually harmful to prospects and to clients when we tell them that change can happen overnight. It's like we're setting them up for failure when we say that. And then shame gets generated when the change doesn't happen right away. I also believe that we're setting ourselves up for failure as practitioners when we believe that long lasting change can happen overnight. That doesn't mean that progress can't be made right away. Oftentimes, when I work with clients, they start to progress right away and take action, and we have wins for sure, right? But that's different than this deeper change that we're talking about right now and the ongoing achievement. So I want to really give you permission to not be afraid to tell prospects that it takes time to achieve the goals that they're looking to achieve with your help. I want you to not worry that telling clients or prospects that it takes time is going to make you look incompetent. It actually makes you look more competent because it shows that you are an expert, right? And you know about human behavior and you understand the process that it takes. I think it actually makes you more trustworthy. And then in doing this, you're setting your clients and yourself up for success. It can be tempting to want to take the shortcuts. And being dedicated to not just the breakthroughs, but to the deeper transformations means that you're willing to do the more challenging work. Okay, so this brings us to the last concept that I want to cover around all of this today. And it's as follows. After a breakthrough, there is usually a narrow window of action that can be widened over time. After a breakthrough, there's usually a narrow window of action that can be widened over time. And so let me kind of break this down a little bit and explain it more. You're in a session with a client and you use your skills to co-create a breakthrough for that client in the session, a new idea or vision. You strategize maybe an action step, you work through a fear, and then the client is more willing to take action. When a client has a breakthrough in a session, they become more open. They become more inspired. They feel like they can do this, right? Whatever the this is that you're coaching on together. In other words, the breakthrough, the session has opened what I call their window of action. And there is energy and motivation to take their next action steps, whether it's to work on a goal that they want to achieve or change a habit, whatever it is. Now, sometimes if the action steps are easy for the client, and if there wasn't much fear to begin with for the client, that one session, the one breakthrough can open up a wide window of action. And your client is going to be able to take step after step after step towards their goal. And it's awesome when this happens. But sometimes, and really much of the time, that window of action right after a first breakthrough is somewhat narrow. In other words, there's motivation and excitement and inspiration because of the work of the session, because of the breakthrough. But because it's only a breakthrough so far and not yet an embodied transformation, not yet a fully embodied change or a fully embodied new idea. Because of that, the positive energy and motivation from the breakthrough is sometimes only going to last the client so long before their window of action closes, and then the motivation to take that action runs out, right? And this has probably happened to you before. You've probably seen this happen for clients. As practitioners, we want to be aware that we want to be aware of the window of action and support our clients to not only have the breakthrough, but then to take the next easy, actionable step within a short period of time before the window closes. Sometimes that easy, actionable, usually a baby step, action is taken. And because the action is taken, your client is going to experience a win. The action is completed and they're going to feel the dopamine of having completed an action. And then that win can carry them forward to be motivated to take the next action step. Other times, a baby action step is taken within the narrow window of action, and then the window of action closes after that. And some of the motivation is lost. Some of the inspiration is lost. And that's okay. That's part of being a human being, right? So it's okay so long as you as the practitioner are aware of this process. The goal then is either over email in between sessions or in your next session to celebrate the baby step, but more importantly, to come back to the breakthrough from the last session and use the techniques in your toolbox, like the ones that we teach in Sacred Depths, to help your clients embody that breakthrough more deeply so that you can go deeper with the neural pathways and the somatic pathways on that breakthrough. You might see if there's a further breakthrough to be added as well. Now, as I said earlier, you don't want to just jump to the next breakthrough. You want it to be connected, and you always want to go deeper first versus wider to the next breakthrough. And so when you do all of this, then what happens is it opens up that window of action again for your client. And hopefully, because now it's a practiced pathway, hopefully this time that window of action is going to be wider than the session before. In other words, taking action and then reinforcing the inner breakthroughs opens and widens the window of action so that your clients can become more and more accountable to their own goals, and so that they can really do the deeper evolution and transformation work. Over time, the window widens more and more. And as I said, your client is more and more on their own in the habit of taking action and embodying change. Okay, we covered a lot today, and just a very, very quick review of some of the pieces we covered. Number one, it's so important as coaches and practitioners to understand the process of transformation and progress so that we can better help our clients and ourselves. Number two, Remember the difference between a breakthrough and a transformation. Number three, master your breakthrough skills. Even me, and I've been a practitioner for decades and I train other practitioners, I still am coming back to deepen my own skills all the time, my breakthrough skills and my transformation skills. Number four, don't leave things with your clients at the breakthrough. Remember, breakthroughs are useless unless you move towards the transformation. Number five, normalize the amount of time that it takes to change and to achieve something. And respect that transformation takes time and is a process. And finally, number six, remember about the window of action and help your clients to strategize actions that will allow them to move forward within their own windows of action. Okay, that's it for today. As always, I hope that you received a lot from this episode. If you did, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can see and know that there is good stuff in this podcast and they'll be more likely to listen. And then together we will create a coaching revolution and a ripple effect in the world.